So it's refreshing to actually, I don't know, obviously this society is, I don't know if you've all heard of finders keepers, but sometimes finders keepers all depends on what you found. But the idea of finders keepers is I find it, it is now mine, but actually God teaches us that it actually isn't ours just because we found it, that we should actually make some sort of effort to try and kind of locate the person who owns that thing. Obviously, it can be a bit hard depending on what it is. For example, if it's like a purse with someone's ID, then you can obviously give that to the police, and at that end, it's up to them what that officer does, whoever you give it to, if they do the right thing or not do the right thing. But you've done your kind of thing and you've not kept it for yourself or taken anything out of it, or that kind of thing. I've seen sometimes near where I live, I assume people have kind of like dropped things sometimes on the street, and the person, so the item that's been dropped outside someone's house, they will actually stick it on the wall, which I've seen a few times, which again, it's their effort to try and locate it, because that person may want to go back because it may mean something to them, even if it's just a scarf or that kind of thing. They may still come back looking for it, and if they come back and see it on the wall, they're like, oh, someone's actually made an effort, that kind of thing. So it's the idea that you should also always try and make that effort to kind of find out who it is. Again, it's kind of, in this day and age, kind of a bit difficult, especially if you found like a £10 on the note. What do you do with that at that point? Use God's wisdom on that kind of case. But with like that whole idea though, and the whole idea that God teaches us, is that it has an owner. It's not something that it doesn't no longer have an owner. Someone owned that and still owns it. Just because you found it and now you've kept it doesn't mean that you own it. The whole finders keepers thing is, it's not a thing, guys. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. It's not a thing. Another thing as well that points out in this passage is sometimes we tend to kind of not want to get involved in situations with people, especially with people we may not like. But if we see something, or if we see somebody who's in trouble or they need that kind of help, sometimes we tend to just walk past or pretend to ignore it because for whatever reason we're just like, I don't want to get into this, it's not my problem, I'm just gonna not get involved. Obviously depending on the situation, to be fair. But what God teaches is actually it's wrong to not do nothing. We should be always helping our neighbours. It kind of reminds me a bit of a situation where they did quite, I don't know if they still do it, but it was like a few years ago, they did this kind of like experiment with kids like wandering and looking missing, and they did this experiment with this one girl, and I think it was only like one person that came up to her, and not many adults just walked past. And it's kind of that idea, obviously, this kind of people, there's this stereotypical thing, people don't want to be seen talking to a lonely child on their own. I know that sounds a bit stupid, but the point is sometimes our prejudice might get in the way of actually helping somebody. So it could be a stranger, but maybe they don't have the same views, so you don't want to help them. But actually God teaches us we're supposed to be helping everybody, because obviously in the Gospels he teaches us love one another, help one another later on. So the passage in Deuteronomy 22. So as you remember as well, that Jesus came not to vanish the laws of Moses, but to actually fulfill them. So this is a good example where we see God tells us to help our neighbours and to not do nothing, and to respect other people's properties and not take them for our own. And we see in the New Testament how Jesus expands on that with the love one another, and how love is the biggest commandment. So this is Deuteronomy 22 from verse 1. And it says, you shall not see your brother's ox or his sheep going astray and hide yourself from them. You shall certainly bring them back to your brother. And if your brother is not near to you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it to your own house, and it shall remain with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall restore it to him. You shall do the same with his donkey, and so shall you do with his garment. With any lost thing of your brother's which he has lost and you have found, you shall do likewise. You must not hide yourself. So the moral is the moral of the story. So basically it's the idea of actually help. If someone looks like they're in trouble, no matter what age, no matter what they look like, no matter what status they're from, help them. Even if you do not like them, help them. Showing love is the one thing you can, it's the most important thing. As I said, it's the most important thing that Jesus clarifies, that love is everything. Help them. And also the whole, be careful guys with the whole I found it, it's now mine. Think about it. What can I do to kind of maybe have a chance of giving this back to its owner? If it is just sticking it on a wall or on a fence, then that's something. Don't just kind of keep it for yourself. It's up to whoever comes next who decides if they want to do the whole finders keepers thing and take it for themselves. But think about, actually, I am a child of God. What does Jesus want me to do about this?